Excellent. Good afternoon again, Thursday, February 19th, 2026, in-house transportation. And we're picking up on our sort of one of our second portions of our committee discussion. We did work on our response to appropriations on the budget, but also on our agenda is sort of a response, a brainstorm, a discussion on regional planning commissions. And I don't want to miss anybody, but we took a tour around the state of most of the regional planning commissions and seen that most of them had 20 plus communities that they work with, some as high as 55 and some at 20. The regional planning commissions, I know we were at Addison and Chittenden and up in the Northwest, and we were in Lamoille, and we were in the Ottaquechee, and we were up in the Northeast Kingdom. And we took a tour in an area that we haven't had a lot of feedback the last few years. Representative Corcoran and Dakota let us know we used to have an entire sort of regional planning commissions day. The transportation advisory councils, the groups, their TAC committees, transportation advisory committees used to have a say. So we spent some time going around hearing what a different view on transportation, or at least a different set of people. We normally hear mostly from the agency. Sometimes we have a few road foremen in and a few different from the towns, but this was sort of a different level of interaction. They do a lot of work, I guess you would say, up and down, up into the agency and help and requests, and they do a lot of work with the towns directly. I remember hearing a lot about road foreman meetings. I remember hearing a lot about transportation advisory committee meetings. We heard some other common themes. I'm interested, maybe I just start with a few of them, but you can throw some other ones, but I thought I heard speed limits come up in more than half.
Yes.
I thought I heard traffic calming measures, and speed limits in it. Boy, maybe somebody could go back and tell me if we do 10 or 12 of them, but whatever we did, let's say we just did 10. We heard it in more than 6 or 7. Traffic calming, speed limits, two different, maybe they go together, but they sometimes are two different things. Sidewalks, I recall hearing a lot. And I want to know what else that you thought you heard. And without necessarily what I heard, but what you guys heard, and then if there's any particular areas that you think we might be able to help or do something about. So, Representative Pouch is always ready to go. So
yeah, I kind of jotted down some things, and I, first of all, I thought it was a very valuable time we spent talking with them, because they're on the, they're boots on the ground in a way of what's happening, particularly in individual municipalities. So yeah, I mean, certainly they talk about traffic calming in our villages. They specifically mentioned, the downtown funds, that those are quick, easy to do. They bring quality of life to these small downtowns. They mentioned bike and ped projects too, which were a little more cumbersome. And on that, the downtown funds, I would love us to find a little bit more there. It's not a lot in the budget, but those smaller projects can happen quickly, and I think they touch people, directly. They talked about their support for municipal roads, foremans and whatnot. So they're, really helping to not only provide them information and guidance. Sometimes the link, as there's turnover in municipalities, they help sort of bring them together. And so they did describe the need for more municipal transportation funds, whether they're the grant, the infrastructure, or whatever. So, it'd be great if I know we did something last year to help maintain that. Over the long term, I think we need to find more funding for municipalities. They talked about, a bridge with 35, 40 people, and, that doesn't meet the formula for FEMA to fix it, but you can't, they're starting to leave infrastructure to fall apart because they can't afford it. And it might be a time when that's appropriate, but I'm guessing not necessarily. That's not the best approach. that we leave something because there's, you know, they can't, the municipality can't fund it. Yeah, and, you know, they mentioned they support municipal leaders too, that sort of long-term look at projects and improvements. So if I came out at the one thing, it'd be like, geez, those downtown funds, they all mentioned that. And they all said, you know, they're quick and easy and there's plenty of them to do. And they directly impact people.
You made me think about, thank you, Representative Boucher. One of the things that made me think about is I didn't realize, and I suppose it's not unusual, but I don't know, did you all feel it? They feel like they provide a buffer to the continuous turnover in
Yeah,
select boards and town manager, that the regional planning commissions are perhaps more steady in terms of not as often turnover, and they don't have elections, so they're not regularly, but they seem like, I don't know, did you hear that they sort of keep a lot of projects alive that might die as select board turns over and foreman turnover? And I had not realized that or heard that. I don't know if anybody else heard that.
yeah, I definitely.
Yeah. Right, I didn't realize.
Particularly in smaller municipalities where, you know, one or two people are running the show, and if they leave, these things get left behind.
Representative McCohen?
It's, you know, like the towns need a plan, their town plan that has to be reviewed. It used to be every 10 years. I think it's every 8 years now. And they provide a huge amount of help for that, for towns. I thought they also said they help when right-of-ways need to be had from projects. They also may help the state in doing that, or, you know, the right-of-way projects to garner those in order for the project to go through. I think more and more municipalities, there's just so many more regulations that they rely on the RPCs to do a lot of that.
They usually their administrative support for all the grant writing that they do. Because you know just well as I do, in a small town, you have part-time administrators that are taking care of things, and these type of advanced granting, you need a follow-up and you need expertise and that type of thing. So that's what I heard, that they provide expertise to the smaller towns, particularly for transportation infrastructure grants.
And there was one more thing. They were also providing mapping. I know that Rutland Regional came in and said they mapped the sidewalks for the entire county. So they're doing that service for towns as well, providing mapping of certain things. I'm not quite sure if they're actually doing any mapping of the culverts in the towns. They may do, but I distinctly remember the sidewalk mapping.
Representative Burt?
This is back to what we were talking about, the town programs. And I'm just trying to find out what, you maybe have an actual, line item for the programs, and are they funded at the same level as last year?
We could probably get Logan to help us in that area if we need to. The downtown program that you mentioned is not one of the breakout on the budget on the page. I don't believe. It is on this.
Downtown fund, it's down at the bottom, transfer.
Oh, that's because that's not T fund. Well, we're sending T fund money over to HCCD, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
That's the one there. Is it right? That's
This
what
T fund's going to downtown.
right.
Yeah.
And that was
It's all state.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's level fund.
right. And that was the program that did get a $5 million ARPA one-time
Yeah.
benefit 3-4 years ago, and they just finished spending the money this year, is what I recall. I pulled the presentation on that one right up front there. Look at that. Because I had heard, somebody had whispered about this one, so I did pull it out. That in effect, it is level under, and they did get $5 million.
523.
They got $5 million in 2021 out of, for designated village centers.
Right.
And then that money was spent out for this year,
So.
or finished spending it this year.
And then I'm referencing, section 4 in H663, but, has specific, I'm just trying to find out where we're at with the budget that's been presented versus the things that are in 863. Money amount.
We have not gotten anywhere near, or we haven't gotten close to saying we're done looking at the budget. Right, if that helps your, so we haven't, nobody's checked off or been asked to check off and they're not yet. We also haven't done that with the language yet, but that's what we're doing in the next 2 to 3 weeks here, is doing that. So,
For instance, like,
the proposal idea is okay. I also do want to make sure that if there's any more pieces that people heard, yes. So again, go for it, talk about it, and then also make sure that anybody else has comments on what they heard of the 2 weeks of testimony also. So we can go a little farther on that, Representative Burke.
well, for instance, in the section 4 of H863, there are specific amounts, including like 200,000 for the Better Connections program.
And
And then the 523 that's here in the downtown transportation fund. I had mentioned 25 for driver license for off, which is what we did last year, and I don't believe that's in this current budget.
Right.
And then what's the money amount for the mobility and transportation operations program? Is that in there somewhere? And then what's the specific money for various operating administrative support to
okay, I'm gonna slow you down
Okay.
and go back to, we know where we saw downtown funds, at least identify it on the page.
That's on the page.
Which program is Better Connections embedded in? Maybe.
We found it here.
One of them, we got 2 friends today. We had 3, we're sort of like my regular life, I had a few.
So, yes, in some fiscal financial officer presentation, so Better Connections, is IDT spending authority in our policy and planning appropriations. So if we're to increase,
IUT stands.
Yeah.
sorry, interdepartmental fund. I think we're going to increase. I want to talk about that. IDT funds. Sent to them.
Sent to who?
Better Connections.
It's not run by you.
It's ACCD.
Okay.
Also.
Oh, that's an ACCD, but, okay.
Jeez.
But so is that what this,
You gotta give us.
is that somewhere on this page or?
It's IDT is the policy appropriation.
It's in the policy and planning.
It's up here in the B 906, policy and planning. It's embedded in there, okay.
But it should show on our sheet that it's being transferred.
It's an appropriation of IDT funds rather than fund transfer.
And is that amount $200,000?
Total IDT for policy and planning is 90,000. In the governor's recommended budget, I will have to add to the policy and planning though to see if they have anything else.
I'd be interested to know the fate or the existence or whatever of the downtown, I mean, the Better Connections program.
Also, what it compares to previous years.
I think this is a level funding, this proposal is a level
Is it?
funding from last year.
Okay, that's
200,000 was appropriated last year.
It's not broken out here, so it's hard to.
Because, we're talking about these small funds that do a lot.
Right.
Now that I'm thinking about this committee, my apologies, but we get spending authority in IDT because we make the expenditures, so it's our program and we receive funds from ACCD.
So that 99,000
So
comes from. Is that coming to you from?
That's coming to.
Then that would be in an
us.
ACCD budget.
Right, so the source funds of general fund is in the ACCD budget. We receive the general fund and make expenditures.
And
So you
is that-
manage the program for them.
And is that coming to you?
Those
Ninety.
funds, yeah,
The 200,000?
no, so we're expecting to receive 99,950. And we'll follow up with.
Okay, yes.
So.
Yeah, was that cut made in ACCD? Was that made in appropriations? Yeah.
It's possible that 200,000 is over multiple years. I've heard that number before, but it could be over multiple fiscal years, so we don't expect to spend the full amount in 27.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
So we could just make it up on the transfer of the $1 million to be, so we'll just give them 800,000 and then make this whole. They're only gonna give us $200,000 less, we'll give them $200,000 less. Problem solved.
I'm.
Valley's up next.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, in reference to Rep. Burke's comment about these, little funds that sort of punch above their weight. The downtown, fund, 100%, that's such a great example of that. A private investment in the surrounding properties. I mean, that's just, it's the equivalent of state dollar being, leveraged for 5 federal dollars in my view.
I'm sorry, what?
These are the downtown.
The downtown funds. I thought you mentioned another thing after that. I misunderstood.
No, the downtown funds. That just seems to me that there's an analogy there of how.
I had thought you'd mentioned another
Effective-
program on top of that.
effective there.
You're
Yeah,
speaking to the downtown
better
funds.
connections helps communities sort of get to be a downtown designated.
Okay.
So that's important too, as we implement Act 181, helping communities sort of get a pipeline. At the same time, we can't afford to have them all come online at the same time. So the planning is really, really important so that the investments that we make can be as strategic as possible. So I just wanted to say, if I may, the other things that I heard from the RPCs, in addition to the incredible value of mapping the infrastructure needs, and I think we saw some of the most sophistication in that from the Rutland RPC. And of course, and the state, I guess, has sort of coached some of their approaches to, they found it so valuable, they're using it too. But the other thing is over and over, we heard that the NEPA rules are making everything harder, slower, more expensive, more cumbersome to implement in terms of making progress at walking and biking infrastructure. And this was new information for me, was that that we have adopted in Vermont, we've made everything much more kind of rigorous than even the feds. So it seems like I just wanted to throw it out there as a policy position for consideration this year that we, consider the value of just reverting back to whatever the basic federal regulations are, and we need to get testimony on that, obviously, for purposes of expanding walking and biking. So, there may be some other things that this touches on too that could be of interest to people on other committees. But because I think my understanding is there's one NEPA process or one kind of contract, overall contract, and it applies very broad base, touching on a lot of policy areas. So of course, just concerned about how it impacts our area. But I think we heard over and over that, it continues to be a problem that is making, contributing to the problem of things being, when it comes down to construction, the bids being so much higher than they have been imagine they would be. So it's one of the factors. So that's, sorry, I was a bit long-winded, but if you know where I'm headed.
I suspect other members have spent more time than just you have, so don't worry. Representative Pat?
Yeah, the question could be, for Logan is, where's the better connections show up on a budget on a page? I don't see it there.
I believe Janice mentions it's in the policy and planning. So the number should be one.
B906.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's not broken out because that's money that comes in
Mhm.
and is, just goes into policy and plan.
And then they manage the program? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay, Representative Berth,
And the other
and
question,
on to this.
I am trying to find these funds is, what's the amount? And I guess it's embedded in the public transit budget, so maybe, is there a place where the budget, the public transit budget was broken down? But anyway, the mobility and transportation innovation program. Where is that? That's how we should find it.
908.
Mobility and transportation innovation.
MTI.
NTI, yeah.
You can see that on the second page. That's a pretty small amount of money.
340,000.
It looks like it's federal funds, so.
Well, that's
No, it's
315, okay, well, this was from last year, I guess it was 340,000. So that's a quite.
So you're saying better connections dropped from before? Is that what we're saying?
No.
It's only, I don't know, as far as now goes. How
No, I
about
guess
we,
Better Connections is coming from ACCD,
Right.
so. But I guess Dennis is gonna find out, is it actually 200,000? Or what is it?
Shows 99,950.
I haven't heard anything about it from.
We need some more. Specifics.
does anybody else
Just
add?
a-
Or we're not done with that. I'm not saying we're done. I was just gonna. go
Are
ahead.
we still on the, planning?
Yes,
Yeah,
I want to make sure we're hearing whatever else that people thought they heard from regional planning,
Sure.
what that might be. And we went down this path a little bit because we did hear downtown funds, we did hear better
Sorry that
connections.
if I
No, it-
hijacked the discussion.
we got a couple of feedbacks and we went down one of them that I knew that you wanted to go down, so I wasn't that.
Thank you.
So I will say, if you're talking about regional planning, if you have some other pieces, certainly I would want to hear that, and I do have something else to add about that.
and I
Sorry,
didn't,
do you say?
I didn't,
Yeah.
say it completely, but, they said municipalities,
She asked from here.
they have more need than we're providing. We know we provide about a third of
Because
what
they-
their asks are on the grant programs. But I'll just say, we should have it.
Funding for that program.
Apologize.
So,
No.
that's okay. No.
Can you
Yeah,
repeat?
I'll
I didn't hear
start.
it.
So, back to the planning, and I said it already, they said, hey, the municipalities need, it's only about a third of the grant asks that they get. So we all agree, I think that it would be nice to help municipalities. And if we look at our budget, because we did put an inflationary factor in it last year, they are going up 2.7%. So even though we would, I think, I would love to give them more, but we can't. But at least it's not a flat, which it had been. So we are, acknowledging that and kind of reducing the pain a little bit.
hopefully it'll compound.
Yeah.
And,
well,
and it was the only, I don't know, it was the only piece that I thought we could do.
Yeah,
last
and
year in
it,
the
and it
first
makes
year.
sense. I mean, that's how you stay up with these ongoing costs. This isn't a one-time program. This is municipalities that need, their roads are not growing necessarily, but they need to maintain them. And we did hear some testimony that they're abandoning some of their infrastructure because they can't maintain it. So it was good that this really put that in.
Well, that'll certainly make a
Previous
headline.
years.
The idea of abandoning infrastructure because you're gonna isolate a town because of,
Yeah,
they can't afford to fix their bridge.
Yeah.
If FEMA doesn't pay for it, that's part of one of those pieces. Want to get a headline, that'll certainly.
we just found out that they're not gonna pay
They're
for
not.
some of the damage
This is a
that happened.
huge concern of the RPCs, particularly in rural areas, is that that is, I mean, that's what happened, you know, the president declined to
Yeah.
the declaration of the Northeast Kingdom. So, you know,
Caledonia County.
yep, I mean, we're being told we gotta do this stuff on our own now.
Right, so
Further
I think
isolating that community, further isolating that community.
Yeah.
If we can't repair the infrastructure.
and I think we had a couple RPCs say that too. They're really concerned that FEMA, that is sort of, supporting us in these disasters. If they don't, or it goes down, there's no other way to fill it in right now.
Well,
So,
being on the committee the limited amount of time that I have, perhaps, I've heard several times, or my interpretation of what I've heard, that if it weren't for some of the disasters, our bridges wouldn't be in nearly the great states that there are. Waiting for a disaster to happen so that we can then repair it at a good level isn't the best long-term strategy that I
Except
can
we're not gonna
imagine.
get any FEMA funding.
And that will totally make the plan moot, won't it? Then we'll really be in trouble. But that seems, it's not a long term, so that would get us back to our letter from this morning. We're doing enough to get by, but there's no ability to get ahead. But that's off the point. Specifically in the region, I guess, back to RPCs and regional planning. I did hear comments about speed limits a lot. So, and I had also had members ask me about that. So what I did do was meet with the chief engineer, Jeremy Reed, and with Damien, our ledge council, and they came to they're putting together a presentation that you're going to get next week. There are 6, and maybe there's more, but the way that it was reviewed out, there are 6 scenarios of basically what kind of road you could be on and what the process might be to change a speed limit. And so you can have from a state highway to a state highway in a village designated area, to a state highway in a town, to a class 1. There's basically 6 of these scenarios. They each have a process that you would, which I thought this looks like it should be a presentation with 6, and here's the current scenarios, and then here is how the process goes, and then here's who decides, and then here's your appeal option, and then here's where you end up. And does that work for all those scenarios? And is there possibly a policy change that our committee would want to, should we intervene? But I don't think we can answer that until we see what all of it. So that's what I took the liberty of saying, please get us the scenarios outlined, please, and explain where we could be. I thought I had heard pretty clearly that people kind of throwing their arms up a little bit, saying they just can't seem to get changed what they might want. And that may be the right answer. Maybe saying no is the right, but I don't know that if we haven't had that real kind
that would be
of testimony. I'm not judging the decisions. I want to outline, so that is happening. I did have them move forward on that. We're going to get an outline of what the hell it is and what it is, and then we will, if anybody sees anything, we can suggest whether there should or shouldn't be a potential policy change, which we would then have to work to include potentially into the bill for this year, or queuing something up for next year, reminding us of incremental small changes. But the speed limit thing, I don't fully understand it, and I don't know exactly the process, and I didn't realize there were 6 different scenarios to go through. So that was one of the things that I heard that I thought was worth doing some more work on. Based on other people's committee, it wasn't just my thought, it was multiple feedbacks.
And I think it would be helpful because I could be one who would say, we've been struggling, in our town to do it, but so what are the processes? What are, why would they turn us down?
And is there anything you can do about it? If they do?
Right. Right. So that would be good.
There is a,
Rather than just complain, find out what the process is and see if we can move it forward.
it's possible that in the end, the appeal goes right back to the same people to make the decision about whether you can or can't do it.
Yeah.
If that's the case, maybe we need a different look. I don't know. We're gonna find out. But I believe that the direction I'm hearing about designated downtowns and livability and whatnot,
That's certainly a part of it.
It may or may not be something we need to take a look at. We may or may not get it done this year, but we are going to at least understand exactly what we're up against. Or what the situation is today, is one of my plans. If there's other things, that was one that I did run forward with. I obviously am hearing downtown transportation funds, better connections. I did hear that same trend about small. I'll throw it out there. I thought I heard them kind of all of them pretty much say, we get it. There's no money and there's no savior coming to fix our bridges and roads at any rate higher than what you got right now. I kind of thought that they sort of they didn't really push back. They just sort of accepted that's the reality. Maybe I didn't hear it right, but they did say, if you can't help us with the bigger ones, can you help us with the smaller ones? That's what I thought I was hearing, but does anybody else feel that way?
That's what I heard.
Crimson White, and
I don't know if I don't think I heard one versus the other. I think I heard, the towns, the RPCs, want more funds for more bike and ped projects. They see a lot of value in the kind of the smaller funds that have gone towards those. And they have many more needs than what we are currently funding. To Rep. Lally's point, the Bennington RPC spoke about, asking for bike ped projects to be relieved of historic preservation review, which adds to cost and time. I mean, I absolutely agree. I think almost everyone talked about the need for, traffic calming, being able to set lower speed zones. I think most all of them talked about not enough money for culvert and bridge replacements, paving of their roads. Sidewalk maintenance. So maintenance is an issue in some areas. Road crew staffing, it's not really something we can help with. Just a general, the request exceed funding.
I got a few messages of the ghosts, the listeners out there. There's some additional information coming in on all multiple things that we discussed today, so we'll probably put those back together. Better connections, info, NTI grants, downtown transportation funds, those typically they're related to the planning commissions. Is there anything else that want to comment or dig into on that piece?
Sure, I have better connection.
If you'd like to share what you got.
Okay, and on this again for the record, so Better Communities actually is not only the IUT that I mentioned, but it's also funded with FHWA state and local. So the total amount for FY 27 is gonna be $325,190. And it's all in that policy, FID 7.
325, what?
193.
So, and that's made up of, how much of that is federal money? Is that from ACCD? Is that their federal money?
No,
That's the-
FHWA.
Our FHWA.
And the ACCD contribution to it?
There's also a local contribution and a very small state TF contribution.
So, and what's the SHA, what's, can you break down that third number?
I can give it to you by fund source if we're ready to. Ready to. Okay, so the FHWA number 193,754.
Yeah.
Transportation fund number is 14,539. The local number 16,950. And that IUT, I originally thought was the funding source, sorry, is 99,950.
And that you finished 325. How does the local thing, is it estimated by any program that uses it? Is that where that number comes from?
Yeah, some
It's
of
just
our
an estimate,
programs,
yeah.
some of our programs require a
Yeah,
local match.
yeah.
So I assume that this program.
The 80/20, I think,
Okay, thanks very much for getting that.
Yeah, this is a case where in that part of the budget, you don't really get a lot of detail.
All right, well, not sure if we're reaching the end on this particular piece, and I will, yeah, it's okay, you're good. I was just trying to pull it all together.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember, there was a piece from the Bennington County Regional Planning Commission that was around barriers in the scoping stage for bike ped projects. So it wasn't like related to funding costs, but just minimizing some of the challenges or costs associated with scoping in the initial stages of the project. So I just wanted to flag that there's some specifics in the letter that's on the committee page, but that might be worth looking at.
Is that in the same direction of what Representative White was bringing up about historic preservation, and then what Representative Rowley was talking about NEPA,
That, yeah.
but also the NEPA?
Sorry for duplicating, yeah,
Sorry.
it's the same, but in the letter, there were some pretty specific, there's some specifics of possible language that could be useful to.
Okay.
I just remember hearing Rollins on board with getting Amtrak to Bennington, so I mean, I like that.
Someday,
forward thinking.
someday your time will come.
Some, any of your kids interested in public service? Any grandkids yet?
Like Bill Oswald.
Yeah.
We didn't live to see it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so we're going to pick up tomorrow on the letter and on, I'm not exactly sure what else we're gonna throw in for tomorrow to make sure that we're finished. Next week, we'll be back in the T-bill language. There's a request from the Burlington Airport. There's a request, of course, we still have to sign off on the Caledonia Airport. There's a request from GMT, language change request that is being drafted up to be put together. There is, we had asked some kind of follow up on the e-bike situation. So we're going to hear from the Department of Forest Parks and Recs on that. We didn't get the MBUF update this week, so that will be part of next week. There may be some language coming that we'll have to, as that program continues to evolve and come together. The speed limit piece you'll hear next week, and we still have tomorrow to get through.
Yeah, what do we need to hear testimony on the GMT thing?
Yeah, we haven't even seen the.
Yeah, well, I think we did another, well, you
Just
know,
did something,
yes, we have that, but I'm wondering,
Who's gonna?
outside of GMT.
Right outside of the GMP world. Well, that's the same thing on the Burlington thing. I don't even exactly know what the language is, but I said, okay, well, who would be the countering view
Yeah.
of why you want to make the language change? And I'm in the same boat on, it's gonna be interesting, who would have a reason not to make the change?
Yeah.
Well, I
And there might be a
think,
federal regulation.
yeah, there might be, I mean, Ross might be able
Yeah, maybe.
to explain that to us.
Yeah.
It makes sense when you when you read it, like, this will allow us to go out and get other funds. And not tied to the municipalities.
Yeah.
Which they are now, so.
And somebody had a reason for not letting. them do
Yeah,
that in the first
exactly.
place.
Yeah,
Like, what was
yeah.
that?
Exactly.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I, yeah, we would, yeah, we have to try to find that out, is what you're.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I know you have to represent Thomas, anything to add to that?
Yeah, Ross would make sense. I guess I just wonder if any municipalities wanting to, I mean, testify. I don't know if there's a reason.
Burlington,
Um,
Chapin, who's on their board and also part of Burlington.
Anyway, can think about it a bit more.
But what about their RPC in Chittenden?
Sure, yes, CCRPC could be a
I
good,
mean, I think they kind of, maybe.
might be able to represent any
Yeah,
concerns and,
Yeah.
yeah. Maybe Charlie Baker coming back in.
Yeah.
Uh, So T-bill language, and we need to have some more discussions about what some of these ideas that we discussed today are. So we then, unless barring any other comments, we're going to be adjourned until after for tomorrow. Say, 15, 20 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark after